Hey everyone, my name is Penny Zanker, and it's time to reset. This podcast goes beyond just navigating change. It's about new ways of thinking about how you can approach challenges, how you can shift your mindset when needed, create some space and grace for yourself so that you can rethink, recharge, and reprioritize when and where needed. Are you ready to unlock your full potential? Thank you for hitting play and sharing this next episode with me. It's time to reset. Hello and welcome to Take Back Time. My name is Penny Zanker and I'm your host. And I'm always looking to challenge you with different ways of thinking about things, and today is no exception. I'm talking to Robert Jordan today, and he's the CEO of Interim Execs, which matches top executives with companies around the world. So based on research with thousands of leaders and companies, he and Olivia Wagner have written Right Leader, Right Time. Discover your leadership style for winning career and company. And they have launched the FABS Leadership Assessment, a free assessment at rightleader.com, designed to help leaders and organizations to perform better. So without further ado, let's invite Robert to a conversation. Hey, Robert, how are you?
I'm great, Penny. It's a pleasure to be with you. I'm a little intimidated because I've seen some of your speaking performances, and you're very good.
Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate that. Well, we're just about giving good content. I mean, listen to that background and what you guys have created. I have no doubt that you're going to give us some golden nuggets today.
It'd be great.
Just first of all, I'm always curious about what's the passion that drives somebody to develop what they have. So you've developed an assessment for leaders. What was the driver behind that? Why did you feel that that was necessary? I mean, sometimes I'm provocative on the show, so I'll let you know that there are a lot of different leadership assessments out there. Like, why do we need another one? What drove you to create this?
Well, provoke away. It's more fun that way. The assessment is called FABS Leadership Assessment. FAB stands, as you said, FABS, which stands for Fixer, Artist, Builder, Strategist. So where this came out of was that in our work organization called Interim Execs, we had about 7,000 executives from 50 countries show up kind of on our doorstep over the past 10 years. And we developed ranking and scoring and screening because around the world, we're a matchmaker. Organizations show up. And there were
for interim leadership, is that, or they're looking for their next CEO, or they have like a CEO that's transitioning and they're looking for somebody for 6 months?
We're always project-based. This is around fractional, interim, contract-based, gotcha. CFOs, CEOs, all of that. It's kind of exploding in use all around the world.
Yeah.
We had noticed this pattern that among the majority of executives, they have career journeys that you would say were okay, but not necessarily great. And then the flip side was, if you just looked at the top 2%, say, of executives, okay, these are exceptional people. And we noticed this thing we call leadership style, that those exceptional leaders tended to have more of a process, an approach, a system. And we gave it these 4 distinct labels: fixer, artist, builder, and strategist. So from that, the idea was, well, can we deepen our understandings in the research? And that is the launch of this assessment, FABS Leadership Assessment. It's about 3 minutes. It's free. And frankly, I don't know if it's going to work. It is an overlay. There are plenty of validated tools out there. A lot of people know Kolbe or DISC or Hogan or those kinds of things. There was an old one, Myers-Briggs. And I think that those validated measurements are great for people in terms of self-discovery. You've talked about this, and I've seen you speak and talking about awareness, raising your own consciousness.
Absolutely.
We're trying to get at the same thing here in terms of, do you have a sense of your own style as a leader, and can we help you with that?
So this is designed more for me as a leader to improve my awareness of my style versus the company who's hiring is looking for a specific type of leader, or both.
You could use it either way, but for the individual, it's meant to instantly give you some feedback. Does this fit in terms of where you are in your highest and best place?
Right.
And gotcha. What we would say, a lot of people are like, well, what do I do with it? And it's like, well, have a conversation with your team. Because if you can increase the level of authenticity on your team, you're all going to do better.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. When people know it's okay to say, hey, this is where I'm really good at, and this is where I could use some support or some empathy, or not empathy is not the right word, some work with me. Like I had a leader that I was working with, and he knew that he wasn't very good at the specifics of, like, he wasn't a detail-oriented person. So he didn't always ask for the specifics of what he wanted and kind of left things vague, but then expectations can be mismanaged all over the place, right? And there's like conflicts or misunderstandings or things like that happen just because. And I remember we talked about, well, just have this conversation so that they can say, okay, when do you need that by? And kind of give him some structure that he was missing. So it can come from both ways, right? When you communicate that in the organization. So how do you use that? Like, give us an example of where this style has helped a leader that you've worked with, like when you heard how they've implemented it and it's made their performance better and their team's performance better.
Well, I'll give you an example. We interviewed a lot of leaders for the book, Right Leader, Right Time. And one of the CEOs we interviewed, incredibly successful person. And at a certain point in the interviews, we had a structure in terms of when we would say, this is the premise of the book, fixer, artist, builder, strategist, and ask them, do you think one of these resonates for you? And does this have any context within organizations you've led? And when he first heard it, he said, this is interesting. He said, I'm an investor in a company, and when they were in bad shape, he said, this leader was phenomenal. He was thinking about this person as fixer. He said, but once things started to go better, he wasn't so good anymore. And it's just interesting to get this context, which is no one is right in all situations, organizations. It's not true. But if you want to look at the number one mistake that the average leader makes in career, it is attempting to be all things to all people.
Right.
That is exactly what people do. And even we would politely, gently try to point this out to people over the years, and all you're going to get, you usually just get a whole lot of denial. And
why is that? I mean, because I think that's a universal trait, is that we all feel like we need to be everything to everyone. I think women also have this, right? In the different roles of being the mom and the business leader and all the different roles where we feel like, well, we're not enough if we're not everything to everyone. And then, of course, what happens is we fail, right? To be everything to everyone. Why is that?
Basic biology, the most primitive form of wiring in our brain is that we are pack animals. We are creatures within a tribe, and humans don't survive alone. And so you look at the basic biology of a human, and if the tribe throws you out, you die. And so there has to be this fitting in, which amounts to I have to be right, and I have to avoid being wrong. And that's really hard to get past that basic kind of biology. But in the modern age, it's not like that. You're not going to die. If you and this company are not a fit, you're not going to die. And by being authentic or vulnerable, it doesn't even mean you're going to get thrown off the team. But we still have this basic wiring, which is I cannot be wrong. I can't be wrong.
So you think that it's biological that I cannot be wrong and not like the ego, which is...
Oh, there's ego. There's ego here, of course, but what we observe of leaders who are successful over time is that the authentic kind of confidence they have increases. And what that ties in with is the more success you have in organization results in working with people, the more you're able to actually collaborate. Because you see, we all say, oh, I'm great at collaborating. I'm terrific on teams. Well, if the reality is that your performance is actually kind of average or not so good, it's really hard to pass the ball to somebody else. Because what that means in terms of responsibility is acknowledging somebody else has a different form of genius from mine, and the team will perform a whole lot better if the thing at which they are great, they are allowed to lead, to have the ball. You have to actually be really confident in yourself to do that kind of collaboration, or if you're the leader, that kind of true delegation.
So I think I might have lost you there to understand that. So what I think I hear you saying is that, actually, say it again in a different way, just so, because I'm not sure that I understood that. So you're saying about collaboration, but then you were talking about the confidence of delegation. I think I got my wires crossed there.
Well, I think that as a person advances in career and in leadership roles, as they get more and more successful at it, their confidence increases.
Okay.
Right?
So
that makes sense.
right. So
And
their confidence increases from the successes that they've had.
yes. And what we observed of exceptional leaders is there's this tendency for a style to develop. Essentially, they're doubling down. The further they go, more success leads to more confidence. Okay. So, for example, in the world, we see these examples of these styles. For example, a phenomenal fixer, someone who's great at turning around troubled organizations, will tend to keep doing that more and more and more
Right.
with ever increasing success. Okay.
Gotcha.
The more that that is the case, the more that you have that confidence, the more you are able to focus on that. The way we wrote about it in the book is to say exceptional leaders tend to reject more of what is not for their highest and best use.
Okay.
Well, the more that you're able to do that, it actually means you're becoming a better collaborator. You're becoming better at collaborating within an organization or a team, because the more that you know, this is what I'm strong at and this is what I'm not, is to then allow someone else in the team who is great at that other thing, has that genius to say, you have the ball.
Gotcha.
Does that make sense?
Okay. Yeah, now I understand. So you're saying that the more confidence that we have from those successes, the more we stay within that lane and feel more confident to let others be in their lane so we can be in our lane. So I get that. So it sounds to me, because what came up as you were talking is sometimes confidence can lead to a false confidence in other areas. Like I'm confident here, right? And it can lead to me thinking, I can be confident everywhere. So I guess there's that middle point, right? Did you see that? I see you smiling and laughing. So I can
Absolutely.
I can imagine that people could get stuck in that middle zone where they don't know their style and they don't say no to those other things. And yeah, so talk to us
Well,
about
we talk about leaders that run amok. And we interviewed a number of organizational psychologists because we had this idea, leadership style, referring to does an individual have a process, an approach, a system? And these lanes, fixer, artist, builder, strategist, we wanted to test it out. Organizational psychologists, are we wrong, right, crazy, or whatever? It was really interesting because one of the psychologists we interviewed, when he heard the word fixer, he got it. Turnaround, blah, blah, blah. Artist, this is the Elon Musk. This is the creative drive that sees the world as a blank canvas.
right.
Builder, everyone thinks they're a builder, but we meant builder in a specific sense, which is you take the small or the nascent organization, product, service, team. You have to take it to market domination. And with the psychologist, you may want to edit this out. What the psychologist said,
Don't edit.
when we said builder, he said, now these are your
Oh, because they want dominance. Is that what you're saying?
No, because a builder, to some extent, more than the other styles, once they build one thing, there are a number of them think they can build anything.
Right.
That is not true. But it does tend to be a repeat that what you see with a successful builder is take the small, the nascent, no market dominance. You get to market dominance, and that builder, a lot of builders tend to rotate off. If they achieved an IPO, they will tend to go and want to do it in a related or unrelated field because they just love this idea that they can maximize product, process, team.
Right.
And it's different thinking from these other styles, but all of them have an ability to derail, right? There was a famous fixer nicknamed Chainsaw Al. He took over Sunbeam, the people that make blenders, and Sunbeam was in trouble. And how did he succeed? Well, he instantly fired half of the company, tens of thousands of people. And then it came out later that there was accounting fraud. And so any particular style can lend itself to excess.
Right. Interesting. Where do we go with this? So I could totally...
Well, first of all, for you, Penny, if I could put you on the spot.
Uh-oh, you're going to tell me what I am?
No, I'm going to ask you, what does any one of these resonate for you?
You know,
I can give you more description of each.
I should have taken it before.
No, I'm putting you on the spot. It's okay. You don't have to.
No. I'm going to share, but I think, like, I'm looking at this and I can very much be a fixer. See, it depends on the context.
Right.
I've taken other tests and I've had more than one that are more or less the same. And that's what I was going to kind of ask.
Well, we're not trying to pigeonhole anybody to say you're only one. We think every leader is a combination.
Of course. So this is your...
We observe as a dominant,
Right, as
or a
dominant.
secondary.
So I think probably the fixer would be my dominant strategy or strategist. I don't know. What would you guess? Just by not knowing me, right? What would you guess is my...
You have to have a strong artist component because of the work you do as a speaker and a coach.
That's true too.
Those are,
Well, I'll let you know afterwards what I...
But I'm not trying to push it on you. And part of this is for folks to take the assessment. Assessment takes about 3.5 minutes. And when you get to the end of it, you get this result that says, congratulations, looks like you're dominant as this and all that. And then there's a final question that says, did we get it right? Yes,
right.
No.
Right.
Because at the moment, this is still mostly anecdotal based on our own research.
Yeah. And I think with any test, right, they always say what resonates and what doesn't, and not to get too heady about it. It's for awareness. It's to be more conscious of where you're seeing these types of any behavior, right? It's just to create more awareness. And the more that we have awareness, like you said, can make us better collaborators, can make us better leaders and better individuals as a whole. So I'm a big fan of these types of things. So I'm really happy we'll share that in the show notes, and everybody can definitely check that out and see where they fall. A couple of last questions and then we'll wrap up. So as coming from this leadership style perspective and whatnot, how do you define productivity and why?
Oh, that's a great question. Productivity. Well, in leaders, we seek accountability, and leaders who wish to be held to account and that they can produce demonstrated measurable results. The majority of executives that we have seen over the years do not have much measurement or accountability behind what they do. It tends to be, if you look at somebody's resume and it'll be like, well, I managed a team of 7 people. You see that kind of vague language. That's as opposed to when you look at really exceptional leaders and you'll see they ran the XYZ division and they took it from 50 million and 7 years later it was at 500 million. Mm-hmm. Well, it may not be, of course it's not, they're the only person they're responsible, but it tends to be that there's this pattern among successful leaders, which is it looks like that. There is a progression of successful, measurable, accountable events that have gone on under their watch.
Interesting. What I'm also taking away from that is that if you listen to people's language, right, you can see that even if the others had that kind of success if they don't talk like that, right, then there's also something in that, right? It's the language we use to describe the work that we've done or the successes that we've had also probably leads to whether you're a fixer, an artist, a builder, or a strategist, right?
Well, you're touching on a great point because fixer, artist, and builder are energies that you tend to see on teams where there's 5 people or 10 or 50. But there's personal relationship that accounts for results because of trust and relationships where you know each other. Strategist tends to be the person with a vast or complex organization where the language is around loyalty, being mentored, mentoring others, longevity, cross-training, and gratitude towards an organization. And that's not the language you first hear from fixers, artists, and builders.
Right.
Very different.
So that might be, if you haven't done anything with language, I'm a big fan of what language tells us about ourselves, right? If we just listen, again, on the awareness side, listen to the language that we use. You said you had watched my TEDx, and I used an example a story that I heard Tony Robbins talk about Nelson Mandela and him using, instead of saying, Tony Robbins asked him, how did you survive all of those years in prison? And he said, I didn't survive, I prepared, right? It just tells you the whole mindset.
Yes.
So for those of you who are listening, and if you're doing any further research in that, was to pick out what are the language patterns that typically go with each of those styles, and for us to see where that benefits us and also see where that limits us, how we are in control of our narrative, and it has as leaders, a huge ripple effect, the words that we use on those around us. So have you done anything with language on that?
We recorded all of the interviews, all of the research for the book, and actually went to the point of word count to see the language. We transcribed every interview to see how language was being used by these leaders. And in general, for what we do, which is always around operating executives, there's much more use of active verb as opposed to passive in terms of what somebody has done.
That makes sense. Yeah. Interesting, right? With AI, you could just plug it in and probably spit out all the common words. Like if you were to.
Yeah, we didn't have there was no AI helping us out at the time.
Well, a new project, right?
Now, yes.
Next
now
phase.
it is. Yeah.
Next phase. So is there anything that I didn't ask you that you feel like you really want to make sure it comes across to the listeners?
Oh, I think this is great, Penny. Thank you.
No, my pleasure. So we're going to put all your links and everything. So just speak out for us. Where's the best place for everybody to go to take the assessment and anything else to get the book and see more about you guys?
Folks can take the FABS Leadership Assessment at rightleader.com. They'll see a link for assessment, and I can be reached at interimexecs.com.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for being here, Robert.
Thank you, Penny. It's been a pleasure.
And thank you all for being here. Hopefully your interest is piqued. What's my style? This show hopefully has you thinking about different things. And this is a great time to create some awareness as to, well, what is your style? And we talked about language. So what kind of language do you show up with? Where are you maybe overconfident in areas that's not your area of expertise, and how you could really look into promoting more of other people's expertise so you can collaborate better? Because when everybody's in their lane, that's what we heard from Robert, when everybody's in their lane, you're all going to be happier and you're going to perform better. So that's your homework tonight as a listener, is go take that assessment. And what does that mean to you? And how are you going to use what you learned from that to put into practice? My name is Penny Zanker, and this is Take Back Time. We'll see you in the next episode. Hey, thank you for spending this time with me. It really means a lot. If you're feeling a little off, distracted, overwhelmed, stuck, or just out of sync, remember that's your signal to reset. And that's all it takes, just recognizing one reset moment at a time. So stay tuned for more tips, tools, tricks, stories, strategies, all here on Time to Reset. We'll see you in the next episode.